Welcome, everyone, to the Action Hero podcast. Are you ready for some action? Because today we've got some seriously wild stories. Like, whoa, buckle up. Kind of wild. We're going on an adventure today. We're going to explore two different stories. And these are about individuals facing some pretty extraordinary threats. And get this, with some pretty unique tools to handle them. Get ready for some seriously addictive action. We're talking edge-of-your-seat storytelling that'll have you craving more.
It's amazing what people can do when they're pushed to their absolute limits, right?
It is. And that's what we're diving into today. First up, we're tackling the legend of the Pied Piper. But hold on. This isn't the fairy tale you remember from childhood. Nope, not even close. The sources you sent over paint a much grittier, more intense picture. This Pied Piper, his name is Hans. He's a former expert in sonic weaponry. And get this, he's forced out of retirement by a new breed of vermin. We're talking terrifying. We're going to unpack how this classic figure takes on a totally modern nightmare. It really makes you think, like how even the most familiar stories can take on a whole new meaning when you throw in something unexpected.
Yeah, it's a really clever twist on a well-known story. Taking the Pied Piper and putting him in this world of advanced but kind of messed up technology, it really makes you think about how even ideas that seem magical or fantastical could actually have some basis in science or tech, even if it's exaggerated in the story.
Right. It's like, where does the magic end and the science begin? Super interesting. Okay, then we're heading north, all the way to Scotland, with the legendary William Wallace. But this isn't the Braveheart you might be picturing. This version of Wallace, he wields an ancient weapon. It's almost like an early firearm. They call it the fire starter. We're going to explore how this iconic figure uses this crazy, powerful, almost mythical device to fight for Scottish independence. So we've got two very different heroes, two incredibly intense situations. Let's unpack that first story, the Pied Piper. So we start with Heinz, right? This older guy kind of described as a bit of a misanthrope, living all alone. He has put away his flute, so to speak, turned his back on his, well, let's just say his past. It makes you wonder what kind of life led him to be so isolated, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Like, what happened to make him want to shut himself off from the world? That self-imposed exile is telling. He's clearly running from something, trying to forget something, and then boom, this desperate woman shows up at his doorstep. And that's not just an interruption, it's a total challenge to the life he's built for himself. She's forcing him to face the past he's tried so hard to bury, and the situation she describes, totally horrifying. Her town is overrun with rats. But we're not talking your average in-the-sewer kind of rats. These are something else.
Yeah, she says they're rats the size of dogs. Just let that sink in for a second.
Yeah.
Nightmare fuel, right? But it gets worse. They're gnawing through walls like it's nothing. This isn't just your average infestation. This is like a full-on demolition crew of giant rodents. It makes you think, what in the world could have happened to create such creatures? It's unsettling.
Totally unsettling. And the sources really hammer home how unnatural this threat is. That newspaper headline you mentioned, Mutant rat horror, and the picture, just a blurry, grainy photo. But it's enough to show you this thing is not normal. It's described as this monstrous, bristly thing with red eyes. That's not your average pest control problem. It makes you think about all those anxieties we have today about science going too far, messing with nature and creating something we can't control.
Oh, that photo sounds creepy. So Hans, our reluctant hero, he hears this woman's story, sees that photo, and something clicks. This isn't just some kids being brats and deserving a little magical tune to make them disappear. This is something different. It's kind of interesting how even someone who's jaded, seen it all, can be pulled back into action when the threat is big enough, strange enough.
Right, exactly. He sees this and recognizes it as unnatural, which is saying something, considering what he used to do. This isn't just another job for the Pied Piper. This is something that even he hasn't seen before.
Yeah, like this is next level. So what does he do? He dusts off his old toolkit, literally. There's this old chest covered in cobwebs. Who knows how long it's been since he opened it. And there it is, the flute. Tucked away, forgotten, but now it's the only answer he's got. Holding that flute again after all that time. It must have brought back a flood of memories, thoughts, maybe even regrets.
You can only imagine the weight of that moment, right? This symbol of his past, now potentially his only way to save this town. And he gets to this town, and the sources don't hold back on the descriptions. It's devastation. Buildings have collapsed. Foundations are gnawed through. It's total chaos. It really shows you how quickly something that seems ordinary, like rats, can become a huge problem if it gets out of control.
Yeah, it paints this picture of utter destruction. And the townspeople, what are they going to do? They're probably armed with brooms and maybe a couple of rusty traps, completely outmatched by these giant mutant rats. Then they see Hans, this strange old guy with a flute. You can almost feel that flicker of desperate hope. They're putting all their faith in this one. Pretty unusual guy.
It's like when things are that bad, we'll cling to any hope we can find, right? And then Hans, he gets to work. He starts playing, and the sources describe his first notes as tentative, rusty, which makes sense. It's been a while. But then he finds it. Not a melody, but a pulse, a pounding vibration that the rats can't stand. It's like he's tapping into the frequency of their mutated biology, turning their own messed up nature against them.
That's so cool, the idea that he's not playing tune, but finding this specific sound, this sonic weapon. He's channeling the discordance of the mutated world, which is such a great way to put it. It makes you think about the power of sound, how it can be used as a weapon, even if what's happening in the story is fictionalized.
Yeah, and the effect is instant. It's devastating. They shriek, they clutch their heads. Some of them get this simply exploded. That really shows you just how unstable and messed up their mutated forms are.
Exploded. That's intense. The image of these huge rats just bursting from a sound wave, it's both kind of gruesome and weirdly satisfying considering what these creatures have done to the town. Talk about effective pest control, right?
The aftermath is pretty vivid, too. The town square is slick with twitching rat corpses. The townspeople are just standing there in shock and horror. They're saved, but it's clear that what they just witnessed was not normal, not pleasant.
You can just imagine that silence after the sound stops, just this scene of exploded rats. Hans, he doesn't stick around for a thank you. He's not a hero. He knows what he did was disturbing, and those sounds, they're going to stay with him. He just wants to get out of there. It shows you that he's not comfortable with his abilities. He doesn't see himself as some kind of savior.
Yeah, he's a reluctant hero, for sure. Did what he had to do, but wants no part of the glory, no part of this town. It makes you think maybe he sees himself as a last resort, someone to call on when all else fails.
And it's funny, the story mentions he brought pepper spray as backup. Like against rats the size of dogs. What's he going to do? Give him a spicy sneeze. It shows you just how much the world has changed. And maybe Hans hasn't quite caught up yet.
It's almost a little bit of humor in this really dark situation.
Yeah.
Like, he's still holding on to those familiar solutions, even though the problem is so far beyond anything he's dealt with before.
But just when you think it's over, there's this one detail that really sticks with you. There's this sleek black rat watching Hans from the ruins of a bookstore. And it's described as having this chilling intelligence. That's when you realize this wasn't just some random infestation. There's something more going on here, something organized, maybe even sinister.
It's like that final shot in a horror movie, you know? It leaves you feeling uneasy, like the story isn't really over. That unspoken bargain suggests there's more to come. Maybe Hans will have to deal with these creatures again.
It's a great cliffhanger. Like, is Hans really retired? Or is he going to be pulled back into this world he tried to escape? He's an older Pied Piper now, facing a world that's gotten even wilder, even more dangerous. His flute, plus a few new tricks, like that pepper spray, are his way of dealing with this chaos. Okay, so that's our Sonic showdown. Let's switch gears completely and head over to Scotland with William Wallace and this mysterious fire starter weapon. It's a whole different setting, a whole different kind of hero, facing a whole different challenge.
Yeah, taking this figure who's already a legend, steeped in history, and adding this fantastical element. It's like, what if advanced technology existed way back then? How would it change things?
Totally. The story starts with whispers, rumors about this hidden weapon, tucked away in some forgotten cairn, something ancient, even older than the English invasion. And Wallace, at first, he's like, yeah, right, whatever. He's a warrior. He knows swords and strategy, not fairy tales.
Which makes sense. Even a legendary figure like Wallace wouldn't just believe in some magical weapon. So when his scouts come back with this wild story, it must have been pretty convincing to make him change his mind.
Oh yeah, their story's incredible. They describe this tube shaped like an ungainly beast of wood and hammered iron. It belched fire and roared like a dragon. That image, this early firearm, appearing in a time when it just shouldn't exist. It's straight out of myth. A weapon from another age, they call it, waiting for Scotland to need it.
That description is so vivid. It's this clunky, crude-looking thing, but with this incredible power. And that simile, roared like a dragon, it's perfect. It captures that mix of awe and terror that this weapon would inspire.
So Wallace finally sees it for himself, tucked away amongst crumbling bones and faded tapestries. His first thought, ugly, heavy. But then he picks it up and there's this tremor, not of fear, but of something older, fiercer. It's like this ancient power is speaking to him, calling to him.
It's more than just a weapon, right? It's like this connection to something primal, something lost to time. Maybe it's like the land itself is giving Wallace a way to defend it.
And then comes the part where they figure out how to actually use this thing. The blacksmiths, working in secret, they add an oak stock, a trigger, this powder that's described as like ground up thunder. Can you imagine trying to work with something so strange, so unknown? And that first test firing must have been a sight to behold.
Yeah, they took this mystery object and turned it into a weapon. It shows you how resourceful people can be. And that first shot, the story describes it splitting the moor, scorching a boulder into gravel, the air filled with the smell of sulfur. It's clear that this is something entirely new, something that changes the rules of war.
It doesn't just make a bang, it changes everything. Wallace realizes this isn't just an improvement on old weapons, it's a whole new way of fighting. And of course, the legends start spreading. English patrols getting wiped out. A demon guarding the Scottish wilds. They can't explain it, so they turn to the supernatural.
Which is totally understandable, right? When you see something you can't explain, something that powerful, it's easy to think it must be magic or something demonic. But Wallace, he understands what he's got. He even uses it to his advantage.
He does. The English king calls him a warlock, a heathen with unholy powers, and Wallace just laughs. He says the fire isn't unholy, it's the roar of freedom. He gets the symbolism. He knows this weapon represents hope for his people.
He's not just fighting a war, he's leading a revolution. And he's using this fear, this awe, as a weapon itself. He even leads his men into battle with the fire starter as their banner. It's a powerful statement.
Do you picture that? Instead of a flag, it's this weapon that spits fire and death. No wonder the English cavalry scattered. The ones who stood their ground, they didn't just face swords, they faced fiery death. It's a game changer for sure. But the story doesn't pretend that the fire starter is some kind of invincible superweapon. It's still just one weapon, wielded by one man.
It highlights that even the most powerful technology has its limits, right? The English still had numbers, they still had their own ferocity, and then there's that pivotal battle on a rain-soaked field. That's where the fire starter's weaknesses are exposed.
That rain-soaked battlefield, it's like the setting for the ultimate showdown. Wallace is surrounded, facing the English king himself, and he's got this mix of fear, which is natural, but also this defiant joy. He's not backing down. He fires the fire starter, and that first blast, it tears through the English ranks. But then, the second shot, it misfires. The rain has gotten to it. It's a crucial moment. It shows that even this powerful weapon can fail.
It brings a bit of realism to the story, right? It's not just magic, it's technology, and technology can be unreliable, especially in those days.
And with the fire starter out of commission, Wallace does what he knows how to do. He swings it like a club, smashes a knight's helmet. Then it's back to blade meeting blade, the fire starter just dead weight now. It's a realization for him. Victory doesn't just come from the weapon, it comes from ceaseless, desperate will.
That's a powerful message. The weapon is a tool, but the real strength comes from the human spirit, from that unwavering determination. It shows you that technology can be helpful, but it can't replace those core human qualities.
Even when he's captured, facing execution in London, Wallace carries that different kind of victory with him. He might have lost the battle, but he's ignited something in the Scottish people.
His fight, his defiance, it becomes a symbol for future generations. The story says that Scotsmen will remember the fire starter and its roar against tyranny. They'll even create new fire starters, stronger, stranger. It's like he gave them this legacy of innovation, of fighting for freedom.
Gave them more than just a weapon. He gave them hope. He gave them a new battle cry. What an amazing pair of stories, right? Two totally different approaches to dealing with seemingly impossible odds. Both Hans and Wallace, they face these huge challenges, these extraordinary tools, but their motivations, the impact they had, it was so different. What really struck you about these stories?
It's interesting to think about how each hero changes over the course of their story. Hans, he's this reluctant guy dragged back into a world he wanted to forget, facing this grotesque threat. And Wallace, he embraces this powerful weapon, but in the end he realizes it's not just about the technology, it's about the will to fight.
Yeah, what does it really mean to be a hero in a world that keeps throwing these curveballs at us, these terrifying, unexpected challenges? And both stories, they blend legend and myth with this almost science fiction feel, don't they?
It makes you think about the kinds of challenges we might face in the future, the tools we might need to overcome them.
Right, like what kind of crazy weapons or technologies will future heroes need? What new threats will they have to face? It's exciting and kind of scary to think about.
It definitely makes you think about the future of heroism, about the role technology might play, and about the power of the human spirit to overcome any obstacle.
Well, thanks for joining us on this wild ride here on the Ash Addiction Hero podcast. If you love this adventure, make sure to rate and follow for more tales of action and, let's be honest, a little bit of carnage. We're always looking for cool new stories to explore, so let us know what kind of action-packed tales you want to hear. Until next time, stay safe out there and keep that adventurous spirit burning.